The next 80 years have a high bar to clear if they want to contend with these twists. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 best plot twists of the 21st century so far. For this list, we're looking at the best plot twists in movies released since the year 2000, and ranking them based on the surprise factor and narrative satisfaction they provided viewers. And while needless to say, we will say it anyway. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Number 20. Tina and Vore Are Trolls. Border. When we first meet Tina, we're led to believe, much like she does, that she was born with a deformity that gave her a Neanderthal-esque appearance. Then she meets Vore, a man with similar features, and the two develop a very curious friendship. We're instantly dubious of Vore, and our suspicions are confirmed when the two have sex, though not in any way we've ever seen. Turns out neither of them is deformed, and that they're actually not even human at all, but trolls, with Tina's real parents having been tortured by humans. The twists don't stop there, as Vore has been orchestrating a child abduction ring for years as a means of revenge. Trust us, we couldn't make this stuff up. Number 19. Adelaide is the original Red. Us. Appearances can be deceiving, especially when there's scores of red jumpsuit-clad doppelgangers slaughtering their lookalikes. Fortunately for the Wilson family, they're able to successfully fend off and kill their counterparts while the rest of the world burns and holds hands.
They can't hurt you. You understand?
It's only when they're out of harm's way that the Wilson matriarch Adelaide uncovers a long-repressed memory. Turns out that her childhood encounter with her doppelganger Red didn't end the way she thought. It was Red that left Adelaide in the underground to assume her life, meaning the Adelaide we've been following this whole time is not the original. This recontextualizes everything we've seen and adds another layer to an already thematically rich movie. Number 18. A cult is behind everything. Hereditary. There have been many horror movies that deal with potential insanity, but never one quite so effective as Hereditary. Upon noticing some strange goings-on, Annie begins to suspect a malevolent supernatural element at play. Only the more assured she becomes, the crazier she seems, as mental illness runs in her family.
Mom, what are you doing?
Or does it? Nope. Turns out the only thing that runs in her family is an affinity for demonic cults, as one led by her late mother orchestrated the seemingly accidental death of her daughter as a means of transferring the demon inside her into the body of her son.
You are Paimon, one of the 8 kings of hell.
Yeah, this is one screwed up clan, and even more so now that their plan worked. Thanks for the nightmares, everyone. Number 17. The maid's husband is in the basement. Parasite. It's about halfway through the movie. The Kim family has successfully infiltrated the Park household and are now reveling in their newfound sense of outward affluence while the Parks are away.
부자인데 착하다니까.
부자인데 착해가 아니라 부자니까 착한 거지. 뭔 소리인지 알아?
Right about now is when we're expecting the plot to take a turn and throw the Kims for a loop. So the twist isn't that it does, the twist is how it does, as the former maid that the Kims conspired to get fired returns to reveal her husband hiding out from debt collectors in the Park's secret bunker, unbeknownst to everyone. This not only introduces another level, literally, in Bong Joon-ho's biting social satire, but throws the entire second act into a state of bedlam we are not apt to forget. Number 16. Amy faked her death. Gone Girl. Here's another twist that comes around the halfway mark. At this point, we've watched the likelihood that Nick killed his wife swell and swell with each piece of evidence found, to the point that even we're suspicious of him.
Don't run! Everybody stay back.
So imagine our surprise when Amy seemingly narrates from beyond the grave, only to learn, nope, she's alive and well, on the run, incognito, and ready to let her husband take the fall for a murder that never happened. Sure, Nick was an unfaithful jackass, but even we were flabbergasted at the lengths of Amy's duplicity and spitefulness. You know the old expression, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned? Yeah, we're pretty sure whoever wrote that was talking about Amy.
And if I get everything right, the world will hate Nick for killing his beautiful, pregnant wife.
Number 15, The Kidnapping Was Faked. Gone Baby Gone. Much like protagonist Patrick Kenzie, we want nothing more than the locating and safeguarding of kidnapped 3-year-old Amanda McCready. Upon following Patrick down a series of fake leads, we're led to believe that Amanda was accidentally killed during an exchange between the police and the criminals who purportedly took her.
No, something went in the water.
What?
You heard something? Yeah, something went in.
Where did it go?
There, right there.
Our hearts were broken, only to learn that she's alive and well in the protection of Police Captain Jack Doyle, who orchestrated this scheme to get Amanda out of the hands of her neglectful, cocaine-addicted mother.
We're just trying to give a little girl a life.
Wasn't your life to give?
Finally, it looks like we might get some semblance of a happy ending. But Patrick can't walk away, reporting Doyle and sending Amanda back into squalor, breaking our hearts all over again.
Once an icon of justice and a model for crusaders, Jack Doyle is behind bars tonight.
Number 14, the Armitage family is inhabiting black people. Get out. You've heard this story 1,000 times. White girl has a black boyfriend, white girl takes black boyfriend home to meet white family, and white family performs involuntary neurosurgery on black boyfriend to put their consciousnesses into his body. Wait, what?
This bitch is crazy. This bitch is crazy.
While that may be a total meme or cliche now, in 2017 it was absolutely gobsmacking. Sure, we knew something was off, what with the hypno-tea, creepy groundskeeper, and bingo auction, but we never could have guessed this is what was going on.
Oh, shit.
Or that Chris's girlfriend was in on it. Even when looking back, there were so many signs proving that between this and Us, Jordan Peele is truly a new master of suspense.
And who knows? Maybe one day you'll enjoy being members of the family.
Number 13, the characters are personalities, identity. Over the course of this film, we're led to believe that detained serial killer Malcolm Rivers, who suffers from dissociative personality disorder, is gonna figure into the events with the main cast at the motel somehow, either through flashbacks or alternating timelines. And he does figure into it, or should we say, they figure into him, because not only does the motel not exist, but every inhabitant of it trying to stay alive is each of Malcolm's personalities jockeying for positioning inside his brain.
Why are you telling me this? Because you, Edward, are one of his personalities.
While still a whodunit with victims being taken out one by one, the plot suddenly takes on a whole new meaning as the stakes are somehow raised, while now technically operating at a psychological and neurological level.
One of the personalities you've met tonight, Edward, committed those murders 4 years ago.
Number 12, Esther is an adult, orphan. Between the bad seed and the good son, we've gotten no shortage of evil children in horror movies, so we thought we knew what to expect with Orphan. Sure, the poster's tagline famously says there's something wrong with Esther, and we had no doubt there was.
Obviously, there has to be some other explanation. She didn't come from an insane asylum.
How do you know that? The orphanage you thought she came from has never heard of her.
Only, we didn't think that thing would be that this ostensible adoptee from hell was actually a 33-year-old woman with a hormone disorder that gives her a childlike appearance.
She has a rare hormone disorder. It's called hypopituitarism. It causes proportional dwarfism. She only looks like a child. According to our records, Lena Klammer was born in 1976. She's 33 years old.
Up until the reveal, Orphan was just your typical psychological horror film. But then, it suddenly became incredibly unnerving and disturbing in equal measure. Evil kids we can deal with. Evil adults posing as evil kids we cannot. Number 11, half of life is killed. Avengers: Infinity War. While Marvel had been breaking new ground for 10 years by the time it came to release this, their 19th film in their cinematic universe, we were still comfortable with the notion that the good guys win and the bad guys lose. Of course, we knew another Avengers film would come out a year later to wrap up the story, but we still didn't anticipate our favorite heroes to lose on such a monumental scale.
You should have gone for the head.
Not only does Thanos triumph, but he makes good on the promise he made in the beginning of the movie by wiping out half of all life in the universe.
You're all right.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know.
Sure, we knew he was capable, but never in a million years did we think Marvel would go through with it.
Sorry.
Number 10. Mr. Glass is a supervillain, unbreakable.
They say this one has a surprise ending.
Even by the time M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable hit theaters, audiences were clued into the probability of there being a twist due to the shocking nature of the Sixth Senses revelation a year prior. Yet even with that expectation, he was able to surprise us. When indestructible man David Dunn survives a train crash with nary a scratch, he's indoctrinated into the larger superhero mythology by the brittle-boned Elijah Price.
I believe comics are a form of history that someone, somewhere felt or experienced.
Though it would seem an unconventional friendship is forming, Elijah takes on the moniker Mr. Glass when it's revealed he caused David's train to crash to begin with, willing to kill hundreds of people just to find a superhero counterpart to his supervillain persona. If that's not a diabolical scheme, we don't know what is.
They called me Mr. Glass.
Number 9. The ending was a lie. Atonement. Set around World War II, Atonement is aptly named due to the mistake 13-year-old Bryony makes in falsely accusing her sister Cecilia's lover Robbie of rape. After Robbie is imprisoned and subsequently forced to fight, an older Bryony finally gets the chance to apologize to an eventually reunited Cecilia and Robbie upon realizing her mistake.
I'm very, very sorry for the terrible distress that I've caused.
Or does she? As an elderly Bryony explains, this scene in her book depicting the events was merely imaginary, as both Cecilia and Robbie were killed separately in the war, never having gotten their happy ending.
I was too much of a coward to go and see my sister in June 1940. I never made that journey to Ballard.
To have both characters go through so much only to have their love squandered over a simple misunderstanding is heartbreaking, and we're still not over it.
My sister and Robbie were never able to have the time together. They both so longed for and deserved.
Number 8. Teddy is Andrew Laeddis, Shutter Island. There are a lot of mysteries in Shutter Island's mental hospital for the criminally insane for duly appointed Federal Marshal Teddy Daniels to uncover. Where is Andrew Laeddis, the killer of Teddy's wife? What is the Law of 4? Who is Patient 67? It turns out that Teddy is the answer to these questions, as his entire investigation is actually the staff's elaborate play to get Teddy, or Laeddis, to realize his own insanity and repression.
You've been here for 2 years, a patient of this institution.
We were about as floored by this revelation as Teddy, who, depending on your interpretation of the final line, may have repressed it all over again. Or did he? Kudos to the movie for being able to deliver a wallop of a twist and leave a little up to interpretation.
Which would be worse? To live as a monster, or to die as a good man?
Number 7. Non-linear time. Arrival. Arrival begins with the daughter of linguist Louise Banks succumbing to disease.
Can you come back to me?
When alien pods land on Earth and attempt to communicate, an interspecies war is looming, and time is of the essence. Or is it? Banks struggles to decipher the cyclical nature of the alien language, only to realize that unlocking it is to see time from a non-linear perspective.
So you can see what's to come. But time, it isn't the same for them. It's non-linear.
As she does both, she's able to communicate with her future self and figure out how to create an armistice. Along with this, we learn that Banks' daughter exists not in the past, but in the future, and that Banks will have her with the knowledge that she will die young, and choose the opportunity to love anyway. Mind blown.
Despite knowing the journey and where it leads, I embrace it.
Number 6. The family is already dead. The Others. Gosh, it's so hard to tell a novel haunted house story these days, but The Others managed to flip the script in a way that was both cathartic and unexpected. It follows Grace and her 2 children in the aftermath of World War II, who begin to suspect their house is haunted by ghosts when objects move on their own and a strange elderly woman appears.
That's the number of times I've seen them. I've seen the old woman the most.
Turns out Grace was right. There are ghosts in the house, only the ghosts are her and her 2 children after she murdered them before committing suicide.
We know the woman went mad, smothered her 2 children, and then shot herself.
What they perceive to be ghosts are actually the living inhabitants of the home, and the elderly woman, a medium looking to expunge them.
No one can make us leave this house.
Number 5. The military arrives. The Mist. By the time we reach the end of The Mist, our characters have been put through the proverbial ringer by a whole slew of interdimensional creatures. After escaping the grocery store in search of rescue, our 5 remaining survivors are left helpless when their car runs out of gas. With monstrous sounds closing in, main protagonist David Drayton opts to spare the other passengers an agonizing death by shooting each of them in the head.
There's 5 of us.
One bullet short, he exits the vehicle to meet his fate, only to realize the sounds were that of the military gaining control of the situation. As he's rescued, he realizes he killed the others, including his own son, for nothing. Jeez, what a gut punch. Number 4, Duplicates, The Prestige. In this film of dueling magicians, there are no lengths one wouldn't go to undermine the other. Both are ingenious with a trick up their sleeve, though one is decidedly more complex than the other. When Hugh Jackman's Angier drowns to death, Christian Bale's Borden is framed for murder and executed for it. However, Angier is still alive. Well, one of them anyway, as he found a way to clone himself each show before drowning in a pool. Just when Angier thinks he's won, it's revealed that Borden is still alive too. Well, one of them, as Borden was an identity shared by 2 identical twins to assist in tricks.
Were you the one who went into the box, or the one who came back out? We took turns.
Borden gets his revenge, and we get 2 twists for the price of 1.
She sacrificed Robert. That's the price of a good trick.
Number 3, the dead body is Jigsaw. Saw. As the Saw movies progressed while regressing in quality, it became almost an obligatory cliche that they'd all have a twist ending. But that was only because the twist in the first movie was so good. After seemingly surviving Jigsaw's game by killing their captor Zepp, a freed but hemorrhaging Dr. Gordon crawls away to get a chained Adam help.
I can't help. I'm going to bleed to death.
Thinking he's safe, Adam catches his breath while the seemingly dead body that's been on the floor for hours suddenly starts to rise. Our jaws drop along with Adam's when we realize that Zepp was just an involuntary pawn for the real Jigsaw, who was mere feet away the whole time. Adam screams in terror as Jigsaw slams the door shut, leaving him to die.
Game over.
Number 2, Leonard killed his wife. Memento. Leonard Shelby is a man suffering from anterograde amnesia, and thus unable to create new memories. Looking to avenge the death of his wife when the 2 of them were assaulted, Leonard resorts to leaving clues for himself in the form of Polaroids and tattoos to aid in his investigation. From here, Memento is unique in that many of the scenes play reverse chronologically, and we're allowed to uncover what got us here to begin with.
We found him, you killed him. But you didn't remember.
Much like Shutter Island, Leonard learns that his wife survived their attack, and was killed later when Leonard accidentally gave her an overdose of her medication, having forgotten he'd already given it to her.
Sammy didn't have a wife. It was your wife who had diabetes.
Doomed to forget again, Leonard will continue to repress his mistake forevermore.
Do I lie to myself to be happy? In your case, Teddy, yes, I will.
So many of these movies are watch again immediately after to make sure you caught everything movies, you know what I mean? Well, that's how I felt about Memento at least. Our top pick probably wouldn't fall into that category due to the nature of the twist, but hey, to each their own, it is a pretty epic twist. So, let's look through some shocking honorable mentions before we name the best plot twist of the 21st century so far. Sarah is still in the cave, The Descent. Worry-Free is breeding Equisapiens. Sorry to bother you.
So you making half human, half horse things so you can make more money? Yeah, basically.
Eli is Blind, The Book of Eli.
And God said, let there be light.
Vick is covering up the crime, Searching.
Baby, I don't want you calling anyone. Mommy's gonna take care of everything.
Sophie's death was staged, The Illusionist.
Everything you have seen is an illusion. It's a trick.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Mido is Odesu's daughter, Old Boy. After being kidnapped and imprisoned for 15 years, Odesu is suddenly released without explanation. Incensed, he sets off on a revenge mission to uncover who kidnapped him to begin with, and track down his long-lost daughter. Along his journey, he's aided and tended to by the young Mido, with whom he falls in love and sleeps with. A whole lot of octopus eating and ass-kicking later, Desu identifies the villain as an old classmate of his, Li Wujin, whose sister committed suicide when Desu publicized that she and Wujin were committing incest. Jin reveals his elaborate revenge scheme, which included Dae-soo sleeping with Mido, woo is actually his daughter. Horrified by the truth, Dae-soo cuts out his own tongue.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.